It's been less than 2 weeks since the province's speed camera ban went into effect, and speeding in Brampton, it's already doubled, according to a city councillor.
We are live on Thorncliffe Park Drive in East York. That's where a pair of apartment buildings, they're without power. This after a fire.
And this comes as we remain under a special weather statement in the GTA. Environment Canada says that the heaviest snow is going to begin tonight and could continue through Saturday, with up to 50 centimeters possible around Barrie. The GTA from Milton to Oshawa could see between 5 and 15 centimeters, along with strong winds.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Melissa Duncan. Welcome to Live at 5. A pair of apartment buildings are without power right now. This after a fire in East York.
CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joins us live from the scene. This is on Thorncliffe Park Drive with the latest. Beatrice.
Bakari, Melissa, a massive scene with first responders right now. More fire trucks than the eye could see lining Thorncliffe Park, and there's good reason to it. This is the kind of response we see when there's a suspected fire at a high-rise. There's two buildings here, 11 Thorncliffe Park Drive and 21 Overley. And here's what we know. It was just before 1:40 this afternoon that there was a fire reported in the electrical panel. It was smoldering on level P1 in the underground parking garage. The fire then spread to interior walls, according to a spokesperson from Toronto Fire. Multiple areas where smoke spread. Fire arrived. They tried to prevent it from spreading any further. We can tell you that Toronto Hydro and Enbridge are also here on site, shutting down power and gas, and the TTC is here providing shelter buses for people who have been evacuated. There's some units that have been evacuated from these two buildings, 11 Thorncliffe and 21 Overley, and they're being kept warm right now inside several TTC buses that are here at the scene. The good news is there are no injuries to report. I just spoke with a platoon chief a few minutes before we came on the air. He told me that they did manage to get the fire out on P1 in the underground garage, but that fire has since spread to, it looked like some of the walls. It snuck into some of the walls is how he described it. And so at this point, they're still working on containing it completely. As for the building evacuation, it's been evacuated not because of concern of fire spreading, Bakari and Melissa, but this platoon chief telling me that there's actually a concern over carbon monoxide in the building now. So that's why certain units have been evacuated. The buildings, though, they don't have any power. So any residents that are already downstairs, they're not being allowed back up into their units and vice versa. So you might see around the front doors of the building here, some tenants congregating or just coming out from their units as well, as we're watching Toronto firefighters come in and up in the building to, I guess, get a grip on what's actually happening. And again, the silver lining here and the good news is that there's no injuries in this fire, but a massive response here by Toronto Fire. There are several district chiefs as well, platoon chiefs here at the scene. I've reached out to Chief Jessup as well to see if he's able to come to the scene, and actually he's just written me back. He's saying he's going to have a commander providing an update at 6 o'clock. That's coming directly from Toronto's Fire Chief, Jim Jessup. So 6 o'clock, we'll be getting an update as to exactly what's been going on. And we might get a better understanding as well as to when power might be restored to this building. A spokesperson for Toronto Hydro telling us that they are here at the scene. They're monitoring the situation. And once Toronto Fire essentially clears the fire, they'll be able to get an understanding as to what the damage is like to that electrical panel and how long these people might be without power. And of course, that's a big concern. You might see my hair blowing in the wind. It is very windy. It is frigid. We're sitting at minus 7, 8 at this point. And so if these buildings are without power for hours or potentially even days, that's when there would be some pretty grave concern considering the conditions right now. Bakari and Melissa, of course, will continue to bring you any updates as we get them here at the scene.
Okay, live in East York, CP24's Beatrice Vaisman. Well, crews also battled a fire overnight in Scarborough.
It broke out just before 3:30 a.m. on Kingston Road near St. Clair. Toronto Fire telling CP24 heavy smoke and flames were visible on arrival. Aerials were used to control the fire from above. The blaze has now been contained. No injuries reported. The cause is under investigation. Two men now facing charges in an assault targeting a transgender person in Hamilton.
Police released two suspect images yesterday in the incident for late last month on Hess Street. A 23-year-old man and a 21-year-old man. They're now charged with assault causing bodily harm. Investigators believe the alleged assault was motivated by hate. More people were involved, so they're appealing for anyone with information to come forward. And Toronto police are asking for the public's help to find a missing person.
Yes, this is who they're looking for. They're searching for 62-year-old Abdurrahman. They were last spotted late Tuesday night in the area of West Mall and Rathburn. They were last seen wearing a long gray parka, dark sweater, and khaki pants and brown shoes. Police are trying to identify suspects wanted for shooting multiple vehicles and vandalizing 20 bus shelters.
The suspect vehicle is believed to be an older model Honda Civic, seen right here, with distinctive features, including a gray hood and gray front passenger side quarter panel, a white decal with white writing across the bottom of the front windshield, as well as loud aftermarket muffler. The vandalism happened Sunday morning between 12:30 and 2 o'clock. This is in a large area between Dufferin and Caledonia and Wilson and Bloor. Police say that it did result in thousands of dollars of damage. So anyone who recognizes the vehicle, you are asked to come forward. And no injuries after a vehicle crashed into a store at a plaza in Scarborough.
A Mercedes SUV can be seen inside the business on Glen Wafford Drive, just near Shepherd in Midland. The crash happening around 11 o'clock this morning. Let's check in on the commute now with CP24 traffic specialist Adjouen Guilbeault. What's it looking like out there?
You know, it's not that bad in terms of volume, definitely a slow go. But if you're making it right in terms of problems, we don't have that many. We do have a long-standing issue happening on the Niagara-bound QEW, Melissa. This is on the ramp that takes you to Erin Mills Parkway. At one point, it was completely closed. Right lane and shoulders, all that remains blocked. They're just, vehicles been pulled out of the ditch, but there was some debris which ended up in the ditch. So the cleanup continues underway. Using the Gardiner, still busy. It is rush hours. You try to get out of downtown, it's busiest from York Bay Yonge all the way out towards Park Lawn. If your travels take you to the DVP, north and southbound traffic busy between the Bayview Bloor stretch all the way up to the 401. And if you're on the 401, it remains busy and seeing a little bit of light rain as you make your way across the top of the city, not seeing too much snow. So that's a good thing. On city streets in North Toronto, heads up, crews on scene of a collision blocking lanes on Avenue Road just north of Chaplin. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Snow squall and winter storm warnings are posted for a number of areas in southern Ontario, while the city of Toronto is under a special weather statement.
It is all because of wind-driven lake effect snow. It is feeling and looking like winter. For more now on what to expect and how long it's going to last, so let's go live to CP24's Arda Zakarian. Okay, you're feeling that chill out there, I imagine, Arda.
It's absolutely freezing outside right now. The wind is picked up, but the snow squalls have taken a break for now. Any second, things could change as they have been all day, and this is going to last for the next couple of days at least. This is a warning that's happening north of the city, north of Toronto. So it's an orange snow squall warning, which means that there's widespread snow squall effect across the region. This is in the areas of Newmarket, of Barrie, Orillia, Beaverton, Uxbridge. That's where we're talking. They're going to be seeing the snow squall effects. Now I'm standing on the en route on the 400. We've been seeing some of those snow squalls come in, those streamers come in, and it can get dangerous for drivers very quickly. Here's more from OPP Sergeant Kerry Schmidt.
But there's clouds and there's a lot of wind, and that wind can pick up that moisture and drop in and make these clouds and provide whiteout conditions that can happen in a matter of seconds. You can go from dry roads to snow-packed, icy, slippery roads in a matter of seconds. And if you're not paying attention, you don't realize what you're driving yourself into, especially after 5 o'clock when it gets dark. You may not even see that transition until it's too late. You hit the brakes and now you're sliding, and now you're in for a world of hurt.
The advice is be prepared, pay attention, drive. If you are in those whiteout conditions, drive only as far as what you can see. Don't drive faster than that. Drive to the flow of traffic. Of course, be very careful. Have your windshield washer fluid topped up, an emergency kit in your car. And we also know that Hydro One is standing by because there could be outages as a result of these snow squalls and these high winds. They did see some outages earlier yesterday evening, this morning in other areas, even north of Toronto. Those are being dealt with. And so you're just asked to be careful. If you don't have to go anywhere the next couple of days, maybe stay put, because you just don't know if you're going to run into one of these snow squalls and have these whiteout conditions. Back to you.
Yeah, hunker down, stay inside if you can. Thanks so much for that, Arda. You know, I was downtown today, Bakari, and it was clear, and then all of a sudden looked like a snow globe. It would kind of go back and forth from that all day.
But you made it here safely.
Made it here nice and safe, absolutely. It is 5:10. It is live at 5. You're watching this evening.
And coming up, Premier Doug Ford says that he's going to ask the CEO of Metrolinx for an opening date of the Eglinton Crosstown LRT. An inquest is being conducted in the death of Jamal Francisca, a man shot and killed by Peel police more than 5 years ago.
Francisque was 28 years old when he was killed in January of 2020 near Eglinton and Winston Churchill. The officer who fired the fatal shot was eventually cleared of wrongdoing by the Special Investigations Unit. In 2022, Francisque's family sued Peel police, Peel paramedics, and the SIU alleging negligence. The coroner will be examining the circumstances of Francisque's death, and a jury could provide recommendations to prevent further deaths. A new report is calling on the Ontario government to revisit a policy that prohibits the use of restorative justice as an alternative to criminal prosecution in cases involving sexual offenses.
The report was issued by the Women's Legal Education and Action Fund and the nonprofit Community Justice Initiatives. It says that the Crown policy deprives those who have experienced sexual harm from choosing the form of justice that best fits their needs. Restorative justice is an approach that allows victims and those who take responsibility for harm caused to reach a resolution together, typically with the help of a facilitator. Well, Brampton City Council says that cases of speeding more than doubled in the first full week since the speed cameras were banned in the province.
As of November 14th, municipalities were banned from using the cameras to catch speeders and issue fines. In the last full week of their use from November 2nd to the 8th, Brampton City Councillor Rowena Santos says the cameras caught more than 30,000 vehicles going more than 11 kilometers an hour over the speed limit. Then, in the first full week after they were banned from issuing tickets, but still running, Santos says they captured more than 71,000 cases of speeding.
It signals that Sick Kids research, CAA research, chiefs of police, as well as our own data, which demonstrated the exact same things on September the 10th when we reviewed how our speed cameras in Brampton were working. They actually work. And sadly enough, in many cases right now, our school zones are quite vulnerable because there are no traffic calming measures that are currently in place.
And Ontario Transportation Minister Prabmeet Zakaria joined CP24 this afternoon to respond to Santos.
You can still go through a camera if it was active today or 2 weeks ago at over 150 kilometers per hour, and you get a ticket in the mail 3 weeks later. If we have effective traffic calming measures in place and a speed bump in place, that individual it would be physically impossible for them to go at such a high speed across a school zone. And that's what we really got to focus on, our safety in a school zone and reduce speed, not 3 weeks after, but the day it occurs.
Premier Doug Ford is standing by his decision to replace speed cameras with signs in school zones, despite concerns from some municipalities that they're too big.
When they told me this, I broke out laughing. I was at the city. So let's get this straight. All the other municipalities is no problem, but sure enough, it's Toronto again and Ottawa. They can't put up a big sign. Like, do I have to go there and show them how to put up a big sign? Like, I was there for 4 years. They put up big signs. They put up big signs everywhere. I think it's just another excuse. You don't like the signs? Put up the speed bumps. We're giving everyone $210 million. Just another excuse.
The Premier can't get anything right. You think? One thing he could get right was like a sticker or, I don't know, a license plate or now a road sign. I mean, I have seen these road signs now, people posting pictures of them, and it's hilarious. These are highway signs. These are not neighborhood signs.
The person who's dumb is the Premier, because the signs that were sent are ridiculously large. You could fit probably 3 of me in those signs. And I'm 6'2" and about 227 pounds. And I got a big head too, in case you didn't notice. So it's ridiculous.
The City of Toronto says that the province has agreed to purchase larger poles for the signs. Toronto has received 80 of them, which are set to be installed in 20 of the city's school zones.
Big poles need big signs. Well, Premier Doug Ford says he wants answers from Metrolinx about whether the beleaguered Eglinton Crosstown LRT will open before the end of the year.
The 19-kilometer transit line's in the final stages of testing after years of delays. Metrolinx's CEO said last month there was, quote, still a chance that it could open before 2025 comes to a close, but has insisted that it needs to be completely free of issues first. Ford says he intends to speak to the transit agency's chief to try and nail down a date for when the LRT is going to begin carrying passengers.
This thing's been a disaster since the Liberals started it, and yeah, I'm pushing. I'm pushing like crazy, but they want to make sure it's safe. Thank goodness the Finch LRT is going. That's exciting, and hopefully by the end of this year, we're going to get rid of all the kinks and finally get this thing up and moving.
The project was originally supposed to open in 2020. It is also at least $1 billion over budget.
It's 5:17, holding at 0. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, CTV News has learned that federal cabinet minister Steven Guilbeault is resigning from cabinet. This comes on the same day Prime Minister Mark Carney signed a memorandum of understanding to build an oil pipeline to the West Coast. Stay with us. The death toll in a fire that spread to multiple apartment buildings in Hong Kong has risen to 75.
More than 70 people have been injured. Many more are still missing. The flames spread quickly on bamboo scaffolding and construction netting around the complex, setting 7 of the 8 buildings on fire. The cause is not yet known, but 3 men who work for a construction company have been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter.
In areas where the fire is under control, you can see firefighters using flashlights to search charred apartments for more victims. Officials believe roughly 200 people remain unaccounted for. 2 National Guard members who were shot in Washington remain in critical condition, while more is now known about the suspect in the attack.
Yeah, 29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal is an Afghan national who worked with the CIA in his native country. He was among the thousands of people American forces evacuated from Afghanistan when the U.S. military hastily withdrew from the war-torn country. This was in 2021. Lakhanwal was officially granted asylum earlier this year. There's no word yet on a motive for the attack. Lakhanwal was also shot, but his injuries are not believed to be life-threatening.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
In the wake of the attack, U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered 500 National Guard members to Washington, joining the more than 2,000 already in the city.
And the shooting victims have been identified as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. Both have undergone surgery. They remain in hospital in critical condition. Our Prime Minister Mark Carney and Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, they've signed a memorandum of understanding that commits them to working towards building an oil pipeline to the West Coast.
At a signing ceremony in Calgary today, the two agreed to terms that commit Ottawa to adjusting the West Coast tanker ban if a pipeline is approved as a project of national interest and provides opportunities for Indigenous co-ownership. It also says Alberta will implement an industrial carbon price of $130 per ton, bringing it above the federal benchmark. The announcement comes after a group of First Nations in BC said that a pipeline to the Pacific will never be built.
The way we're going to do that is in combination with the Pathways project, which will be the largest carbon capture project in the world. It'll mean that Alberta barrels of bitumen are amongst the lowest energy intensive in the world, therefore competitive not just for tomorrow, but for decades, as well as creating a whole new industry for Alberta and for Canada.
past 10 years, it looked like wind and solar and batteries were going to be the ability to power industrial economies. I think the world discovered that's not true. With the Russian invasion of Ukraine, with the instability in the Middle East, everyone is having to recalibrate and rethink that. I was recently in the Middle East, and the conversation around the table now is talking about natural gas as a foundational fuel, not a transition fuel. So I think that demonstrates that there is a global understanding of how important it is to have reliable electricity. And so I have to just give the Prime Minister credit for perhaps he's recalibrating his own thinking on this.
Political analyst Lori Williams says that it's going to be difficult for Alberta to convince BC to get on board with the plan for a pipeline.
We've got an achievement here, particularly for Danielle Smith, but now the opportunities and challenges that brings. Opportunity-wise, she can begin negotiations and discussions with folks in British Columbia. She and other leaders in Alberta can begin doing that, and the Prime Minister may play a role in that as well. But those are going to be significant challenges to overcome, and it can't just be that the Federation owes Alberta. There's got to be mutual benefits to be gained. I think that's the key to going forward, if there is one.
Carney has repeatedly maintained no pipeline will go through BC without approval from the province and First Nations.
CTV News has learned that Canadian Identity and Culture Minister Steven Guilbeault is resigning from cabinet.
Guilbeault also previously served as Canada's Environment Minister. A senior government source says the timing of his resignation is connected to Prime Minister Carney's decision to sign that agreement with Alberta that could pave the way to building a pipeline. The source also says that Guilbeault intends to stay on as MP in the Liberal caucus. It is 5:24, feeling like -6 right about now. This is Live at 5.
And coming up, we're going to have reaction to the Jays reportedly signing free agent pitcher Dylan Cease to a 7-year deal. Reaction today to the Jays reportedly agreeing to a contract with free agent starting pitcher Dylan Cease. I know you're pretty happy about this.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting addition. The deal reportedly for 7 years, $210 million. The 29-year-old spent the last 2 seasons with the San Diego Padres. He struck out over 200 batters and hasn't missed a start in 5 consecutive seasons. The deal represents the largest free agent contract in Blue Jays history, surpassing the 6-year, $150 million deal given to someone named George Springer back in 2021. Andrew Zuber, co-host of the Less Than Jays podcast, joined us with his thoughts on the deal.
They're in a good spot. They had a lot of money come off the books with some guys last offseason, and then there's some guys coming off the books this coming offseason after this year. And with that World Series appearance they're coming off of, there's no better time to make a statement and say, hey, we're a serious team, we're serious players for big end free agents. You could make the argument that Dylan Cease is the top pitcher available on the market right now. So they are absolutely putting the money where the mouth is, and they're acting like a team that does not believe that last year's World Series run was a fluke. They are definitely acting and spending like a team that believes they're one of the best in baseball.
Well, Cease's best year was 2022. That's when he finished second in the American League Cy Young voting. In 188 regular season outings across 7 seasons, Cease had a record of 65-58 with a 3.88 ERA.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. It's 5:29, 0 degrees. This is Live at 5.
We are live on Thorncliffe Park Drive in East York. That's where a pair of apartment buildings, they are without power following a fire. Residents have been displaced. We're going to be getting a live update from this very active scene coming up in moments. It's been less than 2 weeks since the province's speed camera ban went into effect, and speeding in Brampton has already doubled. That's according to a city councillor.
And we're live on Thorncliffe Park Drive in East York. This is where a pair of apartment buildings are without power following a fire.
And this comes as we remain under a special weather statement in the GTA. Environment Canada says the heaviest snow will begin tonight. It could continue through to Saturday with up to 50 centimeters possible around the Barrie area. The GTA from Milton to Oshawa could see between 5 and 15 centimeters and strong winds too.
This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm I'm Melissa Duggan.
I'm Bakari Savage. Welcome to Live at 5. A pair of apartment buildings are without power after a fire in East York.
CP24's Beatrice Vaisman joining us now live from the scene on Thorncliffe Park Drive. A very active scene there, Beatrice. Any idea when people will be allowed back in that building?
Not yet, Melissa and Bakari. We're set to get an update at 6 o'clock from Division Commander Rob Hewson. Hopefully at that point they'll give us an idea as to how long people who live in these two apartment buildings will be out in the cold. But have a look. It's quite eerie to see two completely dark buildings after power was shut off. And it's obviously because of this fire. It all started around 1:40 this afternoon. That's when the first 911 calls came out to Toronto Fire about this fire, and we're told that it was an electrical panel down on level P1 of the parking garage where it seems this fire ignited. And so from there, we're understanding that potentially it spread to the walls. And so that's been the tricky situation for first responders. If you look up here on the first floor, just above the 11, there's firefighters right in that unit. It's pitch black, of course, but they're walking through with their flashlights. Whether they're looking for fire extension, I don't know, but it seems like they're in there with at least a resident who may have asked for permission to go upstairs and get some personal belongings. Why? The elevators, they are currently not working, Melissa and Bakari. They're out, along with, of course, power. And now we're watching about a dozen firefighters coming out of the adjacent buildings. That's 11 Thorncliffe Park and 21 Overlea Boulevard that are impacted. When I spoke to a platoon chief just before 5 o'clock, he told me that there were parts of the buildings that were being evacuated. Why? Not because of concerns about fire extension, but because there was concerns about carbon monoxide. The residents that were evacuated, they're now inside a TTC shelter, TTC bus, taking shelter and keeping warm. It is quite frigid out here. I spoke with a couple of young women who were inside their units here when the fire alarms went off, and here's what they told me.
I was just home. I was watching Stranger Things and the alarm went off. I thought it was a fire drill, but then they said there was like a fire in the building, but it didn't really panic me because I thought it was just, a false alarm. But then I started to smell smoke inside my apartment, so I went down to check what it was, and then everyone was in the lobby, and yeah, they said they were just trying to figure out where the smoke or the fire was coming from. And yeah, so I've just been outside,
like sitting in my apartment, and I was just like doing work, and then all of a sudden I was going to the kitchen to make lunch, and then I heard like blaring alarms. And then maybe an hour later, I was going to open the fridge, and then the whole power just went out. And then just from then, it's been like no power, nothing, and then smoke, and just heard a lot of firemen like out my door, and then that's about it.
And I spoke to another man named Peter who came out of 21 Overlea and told me that had the level, at least the floor that he was on, that there was overwhelming amounts of smoke. He suggested it was billowing in the hallways. And so he was told, along with any others where the smoke was very prevalent in their units, to come outside where obviously they could get some fresh air and not have to be inhaling that smoke. If I can just show you the sheer response, though, the volume of first responders here. I mean, this is Thorncliffe down to Overlea at the light. Just fire truck after fire truck after fire truck, several ambulances on scene as well, though thankfully there are no injuries reported in this. And if we just take a walk, we'll show you where the TTC buses are as well, that are helping people stay warm and keep warm, because again, it is very frigid here right now. We're in the -7, -8. The TTC buses across the street in the staging area, Melissa and Bakari. And then if you look down Thorncliffe, I mean, just fire truck after fire truck as far as the eye can see. Of course, there generally is a pretty big response when there's a fire reported at a high-rise. Now, again, we know it's an electrical panel fire that seemingly has extended to the walls of this building, and so that's why there's so much concern and why first responders have now been here for almost 4 hours. And again, at 6 o'clock, we'll be getting an update from Division Commander Rob Hewson. We'll share those clips with our viewers once CP24 returns at 7 o'clock. Back to you guys.
A complicated scenario there, too, for fire officials. Thanks so much for that, Beatrice. And on such a cold night as well. Looking forward to that update a little bit later on. A snow squall and winter storm warnings, they are posted for a number of areas in southern Ontario, while the city of Toronto, it is under a special weather statement.
Yeah, it's all because of wind-driven lake effect. So for more on what to expect and how long it's going to last, let's go live to CP24's Arda Zakarian. Arda.
And these snow squalls, Bakari and Melissa, is what we're looking at. They come and go along with the streamers. You just never know when it's going to start up again and give you whiteout conditions. That's really what people are afraid of. I mean, when I talk about people, it's those that want you to be careful out on the roads. And so this is all happening north of the city. So we're talking areas like Barrie, Newmarket, Orillia, Beaverton, Uxbridge, North Durham. Those are the areas that are seeing the snow squall warnings, and it's color-coded, and it's an orange snow squall warning. That means there's significant widespread impact. Now, if you do end up in whiteout conditions, you're asked to go drive as far as what you can see. Use your headlights. Here's more from OPP Sergeant Carrie Schmidt.
It's all about your awareness. Hands on the wheel, with the wind, you're getting shaken around. Eyes on the road, look to where it's going on, and keep thinking about what you're doing. Don't be distracted. Don't drive beyond the distance of your headlights, of your vision or visibility. Understand the roads, they may look just wet, but that could be icy because we're down right at that freezing mark, and that can catch a lot of drivers by surprise. Or when you get to the exit and you take that off ramp at your normal highway speed, and all of a sudden you're sliding off.
So just be prepared for anything. Have an emergency kit in your car, have your windshield washer fluid topped up, and drive according to the conditions. Be careful out there. Hydro One is also standing by should there be any outages in this area because of these streamers and snow squalls, which can happen. They were dealing with a number of outages earlier this morning. That's even more north from here, but they were dealing with that, and they were trying to complete those outages, but they are standing by should they need to. Back to you.
For that, Art, it looks like the snow belt really living up to its name over this next little while. It is 5:39, feeling like -7. This is Live at 5.
Up next, a Brampton councillor says that speeding has more than doubled after the province's speed camera ban went into effect.
The Law Society of Ontario was taking action against a Brampton lawyer accused of being part of a drug trafficking network allegedly run by former Canadian Olympian Ryan Wedding.
Deepak Parekar was arrested last week and faces numerous charges in the U.S., including that he advised Wedding that murdering a key witness would result in the case against him being dismissed. The Law Society says it is seeking an order to have Parekkar's license suspended or restricted, citing the serious criminal offenses that he's facing. The charges against Parekkar have not been tested in court. He is awaiting extradition proceedings. And a Brampton City Councilor says that cases of speeding more than doubled in the first full week since the speed cameras were banned by the province.
As of November 14th, municipalities were banned from using the cameras to catch speeders and issue fines. In the last full week of their use, though, from November 2nd to the 8th, Brampton City Councilor Rowena Santos says the cameras caught more than 30,000 vehicles going more than 11 kilometers an hour over the speed limit. Then, in the first full week after they were banned from issuing tickets but still running, that number just ballooning. Santos saying they captured more than 71,000 cases of speeding.
The city of Brampton has still been collecting the data to see, what the change of behavior was before the cameras were issuing tickets versus after. And certainly enough, after the cameras were no longer allowed to issue tickets, we found that drivers who were driving 11 kilometers an hour or over the posted speed limit had doubled. So people who were driving over the speed limit, 11 kilometers and more, had doubled from previously when the speed cameras were actually issuing tickets before the ban from the province.
Ontario Transportation Minister Pratmeet Sarkaria joined CP24 earlier this afternoon to respond to Santos.
We're happy to work with the municipalities as we have been over the last 2 months. So we've got the fund in place. There's $42 million that have already been advanced to the municipalities to implement more traffic calming measures. The remainder of that is going to be dispersed as the cities present to us the plans that they have to introduce real traffic calming measures. And ultimately, it comes down to in these zones, let's ensure that nobody can speed past a school zone, as community safety zone at high speeds. Let's put the physical infrastructure in place that keeps our kids safe, that keeps our kids and communities safe. That is the most effective measure at reducing speeds in these really important zones.
Premier Doug Ford, by the way, is standing by his decision to replace speed cameras with signs in school zones, despite concerns from some municipalities that they're too big.
If they need help putting up a large sign, even though they've done it 10 million times, we will have a team out there and I'll say, this is how you put up a big sign. It's a joke, actually. Like, I can't believe it. It's just another tactic. But anyways, they can put up a big sign, or why don't they put in a speed bump that people want, and we'll get that done as well.
These are highway signs. These are not neighborhood signs. You know, he goes ahead, he scraps the speed cameras, okay, but then he can't even produce a sign that fits, and then he tries to make out like that's somebody else's problem instead of his own incompetence. And now I hear that he wants to go and he's going to go take out his little red shovel and try to, you know, stick those signs in place. Well, I look forward to that latest distraction. This is all a distraction. This is a government who knows that we are getting closer and closer to information that, again, ties them to some real corruption and conflict. And I think he's just trying to distract again.
They're huge. They are ridiculously huge. The installation of, and they're temporary too, which is even, they're going to need to be posted in. They can't just put them on the posts they've been before. They're so big. So it's going to be a bigger job, but they're going to send new ones or different ones, like in whatever time, which says to me, why were you in such a hurry? Why didn't you just get it together and send out one set of signs? I don't think they should have taken out the automated speed cameras. It's the wrong decision. But if they're going to make that decision, don't be in such a hurry. Just do it right. And so often that's what happens with this government. And they're in a hurry to do things that aren't that urgent.
Well, the City of Toronto says that the province has agreed to purchase larger poles for the signs. Toronto has received 80 of them, which are set to be installed in 20 of the city's school zones.
Premier Doug Ford says he wants answers from Metrolinx about whether the beleaguered Eglinton Crosstown LRT will open before the end of the year.
The 19-kilometer transit line, it's in the final stages of testing after years of delays. Metrolinx's CEO says last month there was, quote, still a chance it could open before 2025 comes to a close, but has insisted that it needs to be completely free of issues first. Ford says that he intends to speak to the transit agency's chief to try and nail down a date for when the LRT will actually begin carrying passengers.
I will get a confirmation, and we're going to see each other again before the end of the year, and I'll ask him, I need a confirmation. I've been asking for a confirmation for this thing for 2 years. It's driving me crazy, just even more than the public. Like, just get the damn thing moving, but make it safe. So we're going to get there.
The project was originally supposed to open in 2020. That's 5 years ago. It's also at least $1 billion over budget.
Premier Doug Ford announced an agreement to accelerate the development of all-season Martin Falls Community Access Road in Northern Ontario.
The deal will provide up to $39.5 million for important community infrastructure, as well as supporting the construction and planning of the access road, which would connect Martin Falls to communities to the south. That will serve as a key link in the proposed road network leading to the Ring of Fire. Assessments are set to start in the spring. It is 5:47, feeling like -7. This is Live at 5.
2 National Guard members remain in critical condition. This is after a shooting near the White House yesterday. We're going to have the latest on the investigation coming up.
2 National Guard members who were shot in Washington remain in critical condition, while more is now known about the suspect in the attack.
29-year-old Ramanullah Lakhanwal is an Afghan national who worked with the CIA in his native country. He was among the thousands of people American forces evacuated from Afghanistan when the U.S. military hastily withdrew from the war-torn country in 2021. Lakhanwal was officially granted asylum earlier this year. There's no word yet on a motive for the attack. Lakhanwal was also shot, but his injuries are not believed to be life-threatening.
We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden.
In the wake of the attack, U.S. President Donald Trump has ordered 500 National Guard members to Washington, joining the more than 2,000 already in the city.
Well, FBI Director Kash Patel says that a coast-to-coast investigation is underway.
Partnering with the D.C. United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process.
The shooting victims have been identified as 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom and 24-year-old Andrew Wolf. Both have undergone surgery. They remain in hospital in critical condition.
CTV's international security expert, Jeannie Meserve, says that the suspect would have undergone extensive background checks before arriving in the U.S.
I do believe there was a bit of misstatement, perhaps, on the part of the individuals at that press conference. As I understand it, that program did involve vetting. It did involve security checks. And also, might I add, this individual is said to have been working with the CIA. In that circumstance, he certainly would have been vetted while he was overseas. He would not have been allowed close to those operations and to CIA operatives if, in fact, he had not had a thorough check.
Officials say the suspect lived north of Seattle and drove across the country in order to carry out the attack.
Well, a new report from the Canadian Institute for Health Information estimates that healthcare spending is going to grow nearly 2% faster than the economy.
Hospitals, physicians, drugs, they're expected to account for more than 53% of healthcare spending in Canada this year. Researchers say inflationary pressures and population growth mean that even if it continues to rise without innovation, more spending alone will not be enough to address the challenges facing patients and healthcare providers.
The biggest ticket items are for hospital services, physician services, and your prescribed drugs. Over half of your total health spending pie will go towards those three items. We do see increased demand and need for those services, but we're also seeing higher costs to deliver that care. And going forward, we see the underlying fundamentals for more growth in spending in those areas.
Spending is expected to reach $399 billion by the end of 2025.
Calls to Canada's human trafficking hotline have hit a record high.
The Canadian Human Trafficking Hotline received just over 5,100 calls in 2024, which was an all-time high. It expects to see a similar number by the end of this year. About 70% of the calls are from victims, survivors, and others affected by sex trafficking. The charity that operates the hotline also says calls from victims of labor trafficking are increasing. This often involves migrant workers.
Most of these workers are, just think about it, they're coming from countries where they were already desperate for work and money, right? So you take them out of their element, their safety net, you bring them here to Canada where they don't know the law. So it is, if I was a trafficker, which I'm not, but if I was a naughty person and I want to make money, right now I have a large pool of potential victims that I can cut from or pull from.
The human trafficking hotline has been operational since May of 2019.
It's 5:55, holding at 0. This is Live at 5.
It is American Thanksgiving today, and a holiday tradition returning to the streets of New York City. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights from the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Universal is reportedly considering plans for another Wicked movie. This is after the success of the first two films.
They're making money, that's for sure. Wicked for Good earned nearly $150 million U.S. across North America in its debut weekend. That was the best opening ever for a Broadway adaptation. Universal Pictures chief marketing officer told Vulture that things are underway to tell a new story set in the same version of The Land of Oz, but that details still need to be figured out. A holiday tradition returning to New York City today as Americans mark Thanksgiving Day.
Giant balloons, pop culture characters floated through the streets of the Big Apple. This is as part of Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So traveling alongside them were marching bands, dancers, clowns, and cheerleaders. This was the 99th year that the parade was held.
And happy Thanksgiving to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's 5:58, holding at 0. This is Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
Still ahead, residents of 2 apartment buildings on Thorncliffe Park Drive in East York have been displaced following a fire. We're expected to get an update from officials shortly.
Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.